Welcome to the Fall River Conservation Committee meeting, being public hearing on Monday, the September 9th, 2024, 5:30. First floor hearing, room 1, Government Center. Pursuant to the open meeting laws, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and deemed acknowledged and permissible. We'll start with roll call to my left.
Chris Boyle here.
Louis Ferrara.
John Brandt.
Jim Cusick.
We also have Patty Aguirre, Recording Secretary, and Dan Aguirre, Conservation Agent. First up is Notice of Intent, SE-24-831, owner applicants Jeff Sylvia, project location 2450 Indian Town Road. Assessor's map is W-34-0012, filed by Ecosystem Solution, Inc. On behalf of the applicant is proposing a restoration plan to remove unauthorized cart path graded in or around 2017 from an order of conditions from 1997. DEP file number is SE-24-289. This was tabled from July's meeting.
So to give you guys an update, as we had previously stated, we did get the original order finally recorded, so we got that part of it resolved. Mike Labasi, through the Water Department, is still working with the applicant with some of the outstanding items that we had requested that they provide. So I check in with Mike every month. He said that they're still working on it and anticipates having something for the October meeting, so I would recommend to table that matter.
Okay. Can I have a motion to table?
So moved.
Seconded.
Roll call?
Aye.
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 Alrighty. Next, review and discussion update on Bell Rock Road. This was tabled from July 1st meeting.
So I was out at the site again this morning. I had sent John and Chris a couple of photographs, because the only cell phones numbers that I have. They have done quite a bit of work out there as far as placing fill and bringing in loam now to get ready to be seeded. So they've made great progress in a short period of time. So I would anticipate that earth moving, I don't think would probably be another few weeks. It'll take longer than that, of course, to get vegetation to grow in, but the majority of the earth moving is completed.
No, I went out there, there's been significant work.
Yeah. Looked like there was, yeah. So can I have a motion to table to October?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
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 Okay. Review and discussion adopting fee structures. The state's still working on the new fee structure, so can I have a motion to table to next month?
Motion. Seconded.
Aye.
Favor?
Aye.
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 Review and discussion of 1262 Brighton Ave, table from July 1st.
So as we updated at the last hearing, there was a draft site plan review, water and sewer connection plan submitted, still being reviewed by the Community Utilities Office. Hasn't been anything going on at the site beyond what we've permitted or allowed them to do under the existing water, so we'll keep an eye on it, and I'll check in with the Water Department to see where they're at with their review.
Okay, motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Next is a notice of intent, SE-24-838. Owner is BBC Realty Holding LLC. Applicant is Bristol Tape Corp. Project location 500 Innovative Way. Assessor's map is W-19-0187, filed by Zenith Consulting Engineer LLC. On behalf of the applicant is proposing construction of an industrial building and associated tree clearing, parking, utilities, grading, drainage, and landscaping, tabled from July's meeting.
So I'll give you a quick update on that. I had discussed our review with Mr. Bissonette from Zenith Consulting regarding some of the drainage analysis and potential ways of resolving it. I did get an email plan about an hour ago with those revisions, but have not been able to give it any thorough review. But I think if Jamie wants to give some level of presentation about what those changes were. We were really down to really just stormwater management and how runoff flows. It's a fairly complicated site, very peculiar. As far as wetlands mitigation and resource areas, none of that work has changed. This is just really numbers and dealing with how water is getting through the site.
Good evening, everybody. Jamie Bissonette, Zenith Consulting Engineers for the record. I agree with Dan. Dan had given us a nice detailed list of items that he wanted us to take a look at. This new plan, which I did send him just this sheet today, understanding that he does need at least a week to review it, so we're not looking for him to bless this plan tonight. But we addressed every item that he asked for us to address, which is one was infiltration. I think that was the big one. We have sea soils, in some areas de-soils, but we're providing infiltration. Another concern that he had, and I understood it, was when the roadway was built, there was a depression over here that water was getting to. And actually, I believe before the road was built, the water probably flowed across the roadway. So what they did was they installed a culvert in the front of the commercial building across the street. Dan's concern, and I share it with him, was that the water would collect and possibly fill up this wetland area and then come across our site, and how are we gonna deal with it? When we originally filed, our thought process was it would overtop the berm, flow across the pavement into the drain system, and expel out, and any overflow would just go over to the wetland. Dan asked for us to provide catchment and send it through something where it's not overflowing the curbing and sheeting over the asphalt. I don't disagree with him, with traffic and potential slip and fall hazards. So that's what we've done. We've added a nice double grade catch basin here with piping that wraps around and gets the job done. It's not dirty water, so it doesn't need to go through treatment. It's also not, it's just uncontrolled, and so our drainage calcs still work. You can see the infiltration structures like I talked about earlier, and then I believe there was some comments regarding door placement. What we've done is we've added all the stairs with the door placements. We had the architect give us updated plans on the exact location of the doors. So you'll see around the building here, there's a set of stairs in the back here, a set of stairs over here. And then we also made sure that we provided the door locations in the front. You'll see that, so there's corresponding access ways to those doors.
So we had sent Jamie full review, site plan review, not just conservation-related items. Conservation items were specific to the drainage, which visually it appears they've been added to the plan and addressed. So the board can, and one of my original, even for last month's, was the board could issue an order of conditions with the condition that final review of the plan is subject to review from my office and from site plan review before we actually issue the order.
One quick question. Anything shed from the property, it's going easterly, correct? Under or across, at the time it's going
Westerly.
Everything goes
westerly, so
westerly.
you're sending it westerly. Okay, that was my question. That
So
was-
what happened was
my
there
concern.
there's a depression that's up along Riggenback.
And you were concerned it was going to go across Riggenback.
Well, when that wetland that's on the front of this property fills, it does overflow down. So we have a wetland up gradient of our down
Right,
gradient.
so we don't want it to flow easterly on Riggenback.
Well, it never
It
did.
can't.
It always flowed westerly.
Okay,
But what this does now is that any flooding that happens in that wetland bypasses their site,
Okay.
bypasses the drainage system, so nothing will get short-circuited by the construction. It just wraps around the parking lot. which is-
gotcha.
And Dan's right, it is a little interesting, because this is an elevation 188, 187. This is 181, 182.
Okay,
So it
yeah.
drops off on the side to a
Yeah.
And it's
wetland.
only about a foot deep.
It's very shallow, very shallow.
Okay, sounds good.
Any questions from the board?
I don't know if there's any questions from the audience.
Any questions? All right. So could I have a motion for order of conditions with the final review and approval by the conservation agent and the site plan review?
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
Second.
Okay.
She'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you, appreciate your time
Thank
tonight.
Anytime. Next is a notice of intent, SE-24-840, owner applicants New England Power Company, project location existing overhead transmission lines, ROW, Assessors map multiple locations, existing ROW easement, filed by Power Engineer Consultant PC on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is proposing construction of approximately 4.2 miles of new 115 kV overhead electric transmission line within a right-of-way of ROW between the Fall River municipal borders with Dartmouth near Collins Corner Road to the existing Bell Rock substation of Fall River. This was tabled from July 24th.
So you may recall, at the last meeting, we had one outstanding item that had to do with the location, or proposed location of 54 square feet of replication area. And we had discussed with the applicant the ability to go back and look at the regulations and cite or find a way for the replication area not to have to occur directly adjacent to the alteration, because the alterations are scattered throughout the site. So we did receive, in narrative form back, explanations of the specific code sections that allow for the replication area to be handled, if you remember, on the previous site where the substation was built, because they had actually over-replicated on that
Correct.
site.
Yep.
That site has not yet received a certificate of compliance, but I would have no issue with recommending an issue of an order of conditions for this project with the condition that the certificate of compliance be issued for the previous project that encompasses this replication area. Does that handle it all?
Okay. So can I have a motion to issue an order of conditions with the previous,
I don't know if there's anybody in the audience.
oh, is anyone? Okay. So, motion to, order of conditions with the, previous, project,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
roll call?
Aye.
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 Next
That's
is,
that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
thank you. Next is a notice of intent SE-24-841. Applicant is DDL Realty. Owners Madison F. Fall River Properties. Project location is 596 Airport Road. Assessors map is Z-03-0058. Filed by Avazine Environmental Service on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is proposing existing commercial development site improvement. This was tabled from July.
So just to update the commission, actually, before we get started, did we have we have the ad and the green cards? Because I think this one was just tabled. You have the legal ad and the green cards?
I believe Sally submitted those
Okay, just
already.
let Patty check. Because I know the hearing wasn't opened, I don't believe, at the last meeting, but he may have
Correct.
sent them in.
I am not sure actually. This is the first one I'm reading them, so.
Yep. Yep. Looks like we've got them. So when these plans originally came in, we gave it some review. It's also before site plan review as well, so we try to put both sets of reviews together. We did have a couple of outstanding comments that were regarding stormwater management. We did receive a plan Thursday, September 5th, with what I think are the requested revisions. I have not reviewed it yet, but what I would do, we have not had a presentation at all on this yet, so I would ask the applicant to give a presentation on it, and then the commission can determine what to do after that.
I'm Tim Avazinis from Avazinis Environmental.
That's how you pronounce it, John.
It's like Havagins. But I also answer anything. On behalf of the applicant, Sally Engineer, and we put together just a demonstrative aerial. I have some copies of that. It's not the plan, but it's to show how we stay in the footprint of
think it's
the
in-
improvements. So basically, this is kind of a reconfiguration of 596 Airport Road. You can see overlaid here, kind of in gray, to where the new building and parking lot will be. This area here is your buffer zone. So anything that's happening is in the buffer zone. Pink is, they're putting in a concrete pad for loading trucks, and the parking lot is just going to be shifted. So basically the same amount of encroachment to the town bylaw, the 25-foot no disturb, which is pink here.
Mhm.
And additionally, they will be adding stormwater, like you mentioned. The site doesn't have any stormwater currently.
Well, I think there was one catch basin in the middle of the site, and that was one of my questions about what is that catch basin and where does it go? But again, I haven't looked at the revised submission, so
Understood.
I'm sure they addressed it.
What's the, so it's this pink area we're looking at inside the 25-foot zone. What, do you have an approximate square footage of that?
I don't.
It's on the
think
regular, it should be on the
plan.
regular, on the full-size plan.
Is it? Okay. I'll check it.
So they appeared before the zoning board of appeals, and actually, doesn't reflect necessarily on this plan, but they are acquiring a portion of the parcel to the northwest, a strip, to be able to provide the new parking layout and to make sure that they can meet the building setback. That's why we've got multiple owners on this, and that was a problem with opening the hearing the first time, was that they weren't included on the application. So, yes, the proposed building falls within the 25-foot setback, but I would offer that the existing parking lot also does,
Mhm.
and some of the spaces and how they're using it. This is basically a loading dock area that will allow them to more efficiently control their site, move some parking around. And they've added dramatic stormwater management improvement from what's on the site now. Again, still being reviewed. So similarly as the last petition was, I would not have an issue with you issuing an order upon final review from my office as well as site plan review, if you feel that the proximity to the BVW is adequate. So,
They went before ZBA, right?
what's that?
They went before ZBA?
Yeah, that process is done.
Okay.
So they've still got to go through the subdivision process. There's still a few i's to dot and t's to cross. But this was the next permitting authority to go to.
Board have any questions?
None.
Anybody in the audience? Okay. So do we want to issue can I have a motion to issue an order of conditions with revised plan viewed by conservation agent
And site plan review.
and site plan
Site
review?
Because I know the Department of Community Utilities had quite a few drainage questions.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Okay, roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, next is a request for certificate of compliance, SC-24-778. Owner applicant is AIS Real Estate Development Corporation, project location 27 Briarwood Lane. Assessors map is U-05-0066, filed by Allen and Major Associates, Inc. On behalf of the applicant is requesting a certificate of compliance. All work has been completed in substantial compliance with the order of conditions. Is anybody here?
Probably not. I did do a site walk previously, sent some comments out, make sure they had all their wetland signage up. Nothing encroaching beyond what the approved limit of work was. They've loam seeded the site, all the signs are up. I would recommend the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
All right. Can I have a motion to order a certificate of compliance?
So moved?
Second.
Okay, roll call?
Aye.
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 Ready. Next on the list is a request for certificate of compliance, SC-24-779. Owner applicant is AIS Real Estate Development Corporation. Project locations 53 Briarwood Lane. Assessors map is U-05-0067, filed by Allen and Major Associates, Inc. on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is requesting a certificate of compliance. All work has been completed and is substantially compliance with the order of conditions. Is anybody here?
Not the same owner. As the previous one was, we went through the site, walked the site, made sure all of the wetland signage is up, areas have been loam seeded, so you can issue the certificate.
So can I have a motion to issue an order of conditions?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, roll call.
Aye.
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 Alrighty. Next is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-780. Owner applicant is AIS Real Estate Development Corporation, project location 77 Briarwood Lane. Assessors map is U-05-0068, filed by Allen and Majors Associate Inc. on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is requesting a certificate of compliance. All work has been completed in substantial compliance with the order of condition.
Similarly as the last two, everything is in order. Recommend the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
Okay. Can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance?
Motion.
Seconded.
Roll call.
Aye.
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 Alrighty. Next is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-808. Applicant is Joseph Hansfors. Owner, Robert Murray, Massachusetts Land Conservation Trust. Project location is Yellow Hill Road. Assessors map is W-44-0005. Filed by the applicant. The applicant is requesting a certificate of compliance. All work has been completed in substantial compliance with the order of conditions.
So this was the newest trail that was actually accessible trail with all the kids' activities that was built. They were done probably 2 or 3 months ago.
They did a dedication.
They already had a dedication, the opening, they did a great job, so
Yeah.
I recommend the issuance of a certificate of compliance, and if you haven't gotten out there, it's a nice
Good
spot.
to see.
It's a short walk, but it connects you to some larger trails as well.
I'm
but-
surprised they used the Yellow Hill address rather than.
Yeah, I know,
Indian Town
even when
Road.
they filed it, when we were reviewing it, I had difficulty finding it.
Yeah, it was
but-
more of the activities around the
Yep.
Indian Town Road side. but-
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a nice piece of property if you get
Yeah,
out there and
yeah.
take a look at it.
All right, so can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance?
So moved?
Seconded.
Roll call.
Aye.
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 Alrighty. Next is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-699. Applicant owner is Lars Carlson, PhD, PWS, project location, railroad right-of-way, assessors map NA, filed by applicant. The applicant is requesting a certificate of compliance. All work has been completed, substantial compliance with the order of condition.
So this is for the South Coast Rail, commuter rail construction that's been going on for a while. Everybody's done a wonderful job on this. I would lie if I told you that I went and looked at all of this. There's about 10 or 20% that I have not been able to view. My certificate for being on the rail has expired.
Oh, no.
So I've been trying to look at it from outside and checking in on it. I did look at all of the major concerns that you would have. And I would recommend the issuance of the certificate of compliance. There, of course, there's some loam and seeding is done, maybe some grass growth, a couple of different things here and there, but I don't think there would be anything that we would need to hold up the certificate of compliance.
Okay. Did you have anything to add?
You're here, you might as well give us something.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Dr. Lars Carlson, professional scientist with VHB. With me is Gene Fox, project manager from MassDOT. We have an engineer in tow as well. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. I do have drawings, and if you wanted to take a look at any of the minor deviations that we have noted in our letter, but we would appreciate getting the certificate.
Does the board have any
I have no specific questions.
They've had
I mean,
plenty
I've
of
looked
time
at
to
it.
get it done because we've had so many delays.
Yeah. Anybody in the audience?
Any questions?
No? So can I have a motion to issue an order of certificate of compliance?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Aye.
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 All set, thank you.
Very good.
Much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, for working with us.
Yeah.
Next is a request for determination of accessibility -192. Owner applicant is Gabriel Pagan. Property location is 298 Courtney Street. Assessors map is U-05-0075, filed by Alan Major on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is proposing the installation of an 18-foot diameter pool and wooden deck that's approximately 132 square feet in size. The addition of a 3-foot by 3-foot concrete pad is proposed for the pool filter as well as electrical conduct spanning from the meter to the pool filter location. The applicant is also proposing a 12-foot by 12-foot paver patio.
So you had, the way this worked was, you had issued a certificate of compliance for the house construction and a bunch of the work. I want to say, was it the next day? The next day or 2 days later, the landowner came in looking for a sign-off for a pool permit. So we had to be the bearer of bad news and tell him that he had to file a request for determination to come before you. Very minor activity, all falls within the existing limit of lawn area. There's an elevation difference and riprap slope that separates this area of the yard from the BVW. The site is surrounded in fence already. The only concern would be, as it is normally for you, is to make sure that the filter equipment in the backwash pit is at a distance greater than 25 feet from the BVW.
The only thing I see is the backwash pit is not included in this RDA, so we need to be sure that.
Right, so, I mean, it's, I gave it as my comment, that we want to make
Okay.
sure that that is shown that way. So you can make that a condition of that
Yeah.
determination. Do you know where they plan on putting it?
I don't know where they put on planning it. My best guess would probably just be in the back,
Right behind
behind
it.
the deck, just to kind of hide it out of the.
And I apologize, my eyes are bad.
No, no, of
I don't
course.
want to dig out the plan, but what is the offset distance? Is it already greater than 25 feet from the wetland to the limit of what?
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
limit, the closest limit of work is that back corner of the deck, which is 26.5 feet from the
So-
BBW line.
So it'll be
If it
3
was
by 3 by
anywhere-
3,
Yeah.
the backwash pit, 3
Yes.
by 3
Yeah,
by 3.
okay. Oh,
That's all I have.
Would have any questions? Anyone in the audience? All righty. So can I have a motion to issue a negative determination with the standard condition regarding the placement of the filter equipment in backwash pit?
Motion.
And seconded.
Roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Very
thank you
good,
very
thank
much.
you.
Have a good
Welcome.
night.
You too.
Next is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-653. Owner applicant is Scotty and Jennifer Viveris. Project location 15 Anderson Street. Assessor's map is D-06-0016, filed by the applicant. The applicant is requesting certificate of compliance. All work has been completed, substantial compliance with the order of condition. Anybody here?
Yeah, Mr. Viveris is here, but it should be quick. This was an order that was discovered through a new site plan review application for some other area on this site. One of the conditions that we had in that approval letter was that he come before you and get a certificate of compliance for that
Okay.
outstanding order. All the work has been done in compliance with that order, which I believe was a pool and a garage, some lawn area. So I would offer that, to recommend the issuance of the certificate of compliance.
Okay.
And then Mr. Viveris can move forward with the permitting of the new work.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions from the board? So can I have a motion of certificate of compliance?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Aye.
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 All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is a notice of intent SE-24-842. Applicant owner is Tairo.
Tiberio.
And Esmeralda?
And Estimal Borges. Sorry, I messed that up. Project location is 294 Fieldstone Lane, Assessor's map U-04-0061, filed by James Walsh on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is proposing to approve wetland lines, constructed fence, shed, landscape, in the buffer zone. This filing is in response to outstanding enforcement order.
So you may recall, this is the first lot into Phase 2 of Highland Farms. So not the lot that had the big in-ground pool that was built, the next one over.
Yeah.
So finally, the applicant, and I know the applicant, and I had kept reporting it to you, the applicant has been trying to find a consultant, so I'm very thankful that Mr. Walsh took this on to help resolve the matter. So we did receive a plan that does a few things. It establishes a new wetland boundary through soils analysis, which the original
I
wetlands
saw
line
that.
was not. Very well done.
So that was done
very complete.
botanically, the original line?
It was, and I spoke with Chris Capone, who was the wetland scientist who flagged it originally.
For the city?
No,
Oh,
Chris Capone
Chris Capone?
flagged it for the original developer,
Got you.
for Bristol Pacific.
Okay,
And that was on the greater ANRAD that served the entire
that's what I meant.
property.
I'm just thinking he's with Town of Westport, so.
Yeah, but he does consulting work
Okay.
outside. So we have a plan that shows a new wetland line through soils analysis, a new proposed limit of works and fencing 25 feet off of that new wetland line, the edge of the existing lawn. The only thing that I would ask is that, and Mr. Walsh and I had discussed this, was if there was a line drawn on the plan that shows where the limit of clearing is now. Not the edge of the lawn, but where the actual edge of clearing is. Maybe I missed it, but.
My only question would be how many test pits were?
The original wetland line, and,
Well, this is the original wetlands line.
right, the green line.
This is the existing lawn.
Right.
Yep.
And the clearing went down to the area of proposed fence, dotted line
Right,
here.
so-
And then beyond that was, various grasses and whatnot, and then at this point, this is where like the cinnamon fern and the sensitive fern came in, and, but even here with my test pit, I did not have a wetland soil, but I did have a preponderance of wetland vegetation at this line here, and even using a safety factor of 1 inch on my water table for the soils. So this is where I did put the line. So from here up is where it's been disturbed, and this is where they want to put the fence at the edge of the disturbance.
So in this test pit, there were no like oxidized rhizospheres or anything like that? Nothing in this test pit that caused you any concern?
This test pit, what I did was a high-intensity soil survey, so I did a line this way, with numerous auger holes
Okay,
going that way.
It's all in
yep,
what
Yeah.
was submitted.
And so, this one was a non-hydric ridgeberry
Okay.
soil. The rest were actually coming out to be like wood ridges.
When I spoke to the previous wetland scientist, he confirmed that he did not use soils in this area.
okay.
And believe it or not, that the area was extremely thick, and I'm guessing convenient to flag along the edge of the very thick area. Could be a scenario. But what I would still ask for is, because I still don't think it's clear, is I want to see, if that line of what's disturbed is
Right
through
there,
here,
yeah.
then we need to see that line, and then we need to see how this area is going to be restored.
So if
Okay,
he,
so what we were proposing was, this is vegetated. This area wasn't disturbed. It was, as far as like the ground cover goes, it was disturbed. If there were any maples or anything there, they were removed. So, basically, we would leave this area alone because it's vegetating itself.
With what?
Mostly grasses, right, ferns right now.
Okay.
I mean, I can add some maples or something, but
Well,
they'll take over.
I think depending upon what this distance is, so if we had that line, if it's 5 feet
Yeah.
in, then maybe they won't ask for anything. But if that line is splitting the difference of 15 feet in between, then the commission may decide that they do want some plantings of some sort along the back of that fence.
my question would be, when did Mr. Capone first delineate this? Do you know how many years ago that was, or?
Oh, it's expired. I
It's
mean, that was through an ANRAD before the subdivision even started, so I've got to guess around 2018.
My only question would be if there were wetland plants here
Yep.
initially, what changed?
Well, these plants were always wetlands plants.
Right,
it would be where he flagged this bump out,
Okay,
would be the question of how did he, what was his justification here?
right.
Yeah, what reassured me on doing it too was like delineate the wetlands, and the surveyor came in afterwards. And what I did like to see is my wetlands line is running in a
Parallel to the
contour,
contour.
which I
Of the,
like
yep,
to see. I'm halfway between 154 and 156.
And it almost picks up,
contour?
well, the contour coming through, but where this wetland came back to elevation, whatever, 155, and this one dove back as well. So I can see the argument that maybe Mr. Capone was lazy and flagged what was
Well, I don't think
convenient.
he's a
But
lazy
listen,
individual, but,
I spoke directly with him, and he's not here proposing this for a reason. So that's why I'm thankful
But
that I got
also
Mr.
right
Wells.
here is where they put the retention pond too, so that
Yeah.
would
Right.
have been
okay.
in wetlands to begin with.
1, 2, 3.
So I don't have an issue with the new line. I would just like to see where the limit of disturbance was, and if any restoration needs to be done in between that
Okay.
and the fence.
I can get
Yeah.
that for you
Okay.
fairly quickly. So basically, you wanna know, like, from, say, from my wetlands line up to the proposed fence, the linear distance of the disturbance, or do you want the square footage?
No, just so, if, the same way you draw the edge of existing lawn,
Yep.
draw a line that shows edge of,
Okay, that's,
unauthorized alteration, or disturbance, or whatever you wanna call it. And if it's wide enough, then the commission may wanna do something with it. And just so that you're aware, directly adjacent to this proposed shed would be where that pool was constructed next
Oh.
door. That
Okay,
we just
yep,
resolved that matter.
yep.
So this really was, a bit of a bump in the wetlands line.
Got ya.
It could be we'll just call it an anomaly. I won't call it lazy. How's that? But when they're out flagging, 80 acres,
Sure.
they don't think this 50-foot section is important.
Yeah.
But
Right. Once,
that would be my guess.
when construction begins, it becomes,
Yeah.
okay?
So if we can get that, and then let's table it for the next meeting, but I think we're good on everything except for that one section.
All right, great.
Okay?
Okay.
So can I have a motion to table?
So moved?
Seconded.
Great.
Roll call?
Thank you, Jim.
Aye.
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 All righty.
So the hard part's done
Yeah.
for that one.
Next is a request for determination of accessibility -193, owner applicant Atlantic West LLC, project location South Beacon Street, assessors map H-06-0025, filed by James Walsh on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is proposing to determine the wetland property to apply to any future notice of intent.
So, legal ad, we get that, and we'll hop in. So, before we start moving, the board should make a determination if a request for determination for a site of this size is adequate, rather than an ANRAD, which is what you guys have normally asked for in the past. That's for you to decide. Filing a request for determination is perfectly legal under Wetlands Protection Act. But an ANRAD normally comes with additional information, data sheets, soil plots, abutter notifications. There's a lot that goes into filing an ANRAD, which we can still request through the request for determination. But of course, there's no filing fee either that comes along with this. So the board needs to make a determination, one, if they think a request for determination is adequate. If you do, then you can ask for the additional information like data sheets, soils analysis. And then you can also make the determination, since we received no fee to offset the cost and time to review this, if you feel that a third-party review is required. Now, all of those things being said, this site was the subject of an ANRAD in 2016, SE 24-685, that I actually filed with this office. And Mr. Capone actually flagged that one. So what I did was I overlaid the previous plan with Mr. Walsh's plan. Within feet, they're the same. I mean, this is a
Okay.
site that the topography generally dictates where the wetland line is. So I would have no problem on this specific application because of the previous ANRAD, that if you took COVID extensions and everything else, probably only just recently expired. One thing I would note is that the application is only for BVW. So if there are any other resource areas on the site, you're not making a determination to that, so you're just approving, because there is some, whether it's intermittent stream or perennial stream, some bank, that's associated with the site. So you're dealing only with the BVW at this point in time. From what I saw of the development plans, I don't think the other resource areas would be a concern, but we can deal with them at the time of notice of intent if they do exist.
So Dan, if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was pretty much an industrial site?
It was, so,
Yeah.
so this is the parking lot area of Duro on Globe and
Gotcha.
Chase. You may recall, we had just permitted a storage facility
Yep.
on the piece adjacent to this. So this is the next piece over, going closer to Chase. It is basically an entirely cleared site now, some pavement. This was the site of some fill that was placed on the upland portion by Jamie Duff a number of years ago. I did not find a formal enforcement action that the commission had filed for the property. But I know the site has just sat vacant since then.
Probably terrible fill too, right?
I don't know, I don't know. But we're only dealing with wetlands at this point. But the topography is such on this site that I don't think it would make a difference either way. And the last application was very consistent with what Mr. Walsh has
As
shown.
long as it's been consistent.
You let Mr. Walsh give the presentation?
Sure.
If you'd like to add anything.
No, just this case, it was very, grade specific,
Yeah.
very, very steep drop.
And the water body that this involves is the overflow from Cook
Cook
Pond.
Pond. That goes down.
That runs down Globe Street, through the mills, daylights again, back through the mills, through Duro. There was a canal that ran through some of the mills, the Ukrainian Club, that runs
Oh, yeah.
down through there, then it
Underneath-
daylights.
Underneath the bowling
Yeah,
alley.
it daylights once you get past the parking lot of what used to serve Duro, then runs back down to Bay Street at the bottom of Center.
It's actually
where there's a
split.
culvert.
There's a
does
split
split
there.
out,
There's a
yes.
weir that splits it to, one to go to Globe Mills
Manufacturing.
Avenue, and then the other to go to the Print Works
Yeah.
or
So very,
Shaw
very, very
Street.
cool site.
That's behind that development on Bay Street then.
Oh, yeah, so,
Just did a few
so
years
there were a
ago.
number of single-family
Family
homes that were
homes, yeah.
built, so, yes, this stream runs behind those houses, so it runs
Yeah.
between, directly adjacent to where Walter Furman Company is at the end of Liberty and all of that.
Know it well.
area. Yeah. So no issue with the negative determination on this,
Okay.
but be specific that you're only looking at BVW.
Yep.
Okay. So it's gonna have a motion for a termination with only approval of the bordering vegetated wetlands?
Motion.
A second.
Roll call?
Aye.
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 Thanks. Next, we have a request for determination accessibility -194, owner applicant is Zero Stanford Road LLC. Property location is 526 Gamache Lane, Assessors map W-09-0034, filed by James Walsh on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is proposing to determine a wetland boundary to apply to any future notice of intent.
So again, it's the same narrative as the last. The board needs to make a determination whether or not they feel a request for determination is adequate for review of a piece like this. I have no knowledge of this piece. It does border the Southwood Tupper Pond. From what I can see, it's a fairly easy wetland boundary. Majority of it's upland developed sites. How many cottages are on that piece? There's a bunch of stuff.
Two that can be rehabbed, one's in
Yeah.
really tough shape, and two or three more that are combination of just leftover slabs and wells and stuff.
So previously developed area, the wetland is just what's directly associated to the pond. That
And
being
it's
said,
predominantly in one,
yep.
all through there.
So that being said, the plan, and I know Mr. Walsh did not do the plan, doesn't show property boundaries. It shows a number of stone walls, but no boundaries. So I would like to get a plan that we can lock down where the property line is in relation to the wetland line. And you may ask for some simple data sheets or soils analysis in support of the line, if you choose to accept the request for determination, and then make a determination if peer review is required as well.
I would say that with a few exceptions on that line, there's not too much that I could do in soils because it's the boulders
Yep.
coming up from the edge of the pond and then the trees. and there's
Mhm.
not a lot of ability to dig in that spot.
But some analysis of vegetation release or bank or whatever the topography, however, again, I did not go look at it yet, this only got filed, whatever it was, the day of the deadline. But from what I can see, it's fairly straightforward, but to be consistent, the board should make that determination.
Okay.
But in anything, we at least need a plan that shows the property boundary.
Yeah.
If you want to table this until we can
Yes,
see
but,
such plan?
yes, but I think you should at least make the determination that you feel that because of the site, that a request for determination would be satisfactory at this point with receiving the additional
Okay.
information. I don't wanna hold them out a month and then have you tell them, oh no, now we want an ANRAD. So let's give them their marching orders of what
Mhm.
we want,
Okay.
you know, before they come back with the other additional information.
Okay.
So, Dan, that would be a continuance to October?
It would be a
for the
continuance.
additional information.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Just a continuance, that would be
Mhm.
great. That
Okay.
would be perfectly fine.
So can I have a motion for determination with supporting documentation that show the property boundary lines?
I'll make that motion.
Roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye? Okay. Anybody?
Thank you, sir.
I see.
Always good to see you.
Have a good night.
Next is a notice of intent, SE-24-843. Applicant owner is Marcos Fritz. Project location 565 Detroit Street. Assessors map is E-27-0042, filed by Farland Corp. On behalf of the applicant. The applicant is proposing to install an in-ground pool, concrete pad, and paver patio with associated grading.
Did you get any green cards back, or you just have just the white?
just,
No, the actual.
Yeah, I have them
The
as well.
return receipts.
Yep.
I'd rather have those, unless, if you have a white one that didn't come back, then give us the white one, but you can keep the white slips for yours.
Okay.
You can just check with Patty and make sure.
Yeah, I think there's a couple that didn't come back.
Okay. So before the applicant gives their presentation, just let me give you a little bit of background and narrative of the site. The dwelling was constructed under file number 24509. No certificate of compliance was applied for that work, so that's still outstanding. On that plan, the approved bordering vegetated wetland and limit of work is drastically different than the wetlands line shown on this plan. Again, these things happen for a number of reasons, but I at least have to bring it to your attention, and we'll figure out why. And the limit of work is far beyond what was approved under that initial order. What I would like to see is a revised plan that overlays what the old wetlands line was, or was approved, and then we can make a determination of, is the new line accurate? Why is it so different than the last one? Making sure that we get some of that additional soils information or soil plots or data sheets from the wetlands consultant that flagged this as well.
Mhm.
Once we do get that new line in, and I drew it and overlaid the two on the plan, it's substantial. At that point, and I think we'll get that information before the meeting, the commission may ask for some of the proposed work to be reconfigured. Whether, like, for instance, if you were to turn that pool 90 degrees, you're pulling it dramatically away from the wetland, and it get flagged now. Now, I do know that there's an existing fence that's already installed in the back there. That doesn't mean it should be there. So they may ask for, turn the pool 90 degrees, bring that fence in to be 25 feet off the old line. So similarly, as we just did with the last applicant, until we get all of that information, it's kind of difficult for the commission to give you direction. That being said, we'll let you give your presentation for the work that's being proposed, and then the commission can act appropriately. Thank you.
Nathan DeSilva from Farland Corp. For the work being proposed, the wetland line that's delineated on this plan was done back at the very end of June of 2024, the start of July.
Is this that one?
All of the work on this plan that's proposed does not fall within the wetland line.
Give me this
There's
one.
also a flood zone at the rear of the property, and that none of the work proposed falls within that line either. As Dan had mentioned, the entire rear of the lot is fenced in, which acts as a physical barrier between the wetland line shown on this plan and all the work that's being proposed. The very rear corner of the proposed concrete pad apron around the pool is 23.5 feet roughly off of that wetland line. That's the smallest portion of work that is within that 25-foot buffer. But everything other than that falls out of that buffer zone. And apart from that, it's a 16 by 30 proposed pool, and all the proposed grading is at least 3 to 1.
Okay.
Just, and I didn't bring the full-size plan, but I can
Yeah.
send this to you. That's just a photocopy of, so here's the locust lot. Here was the limit of work as it was approved, and that's the BW line. So
Yeah.
take that, we can use that.
Okay.
And this is what I came up with just roughly when I overlaid it,
Yeah.
was that the wetlands line is here.
This is the new wetlands line?
No, that's the old
The
wetlands
old one.
line that has the outstanding order.
Okay.
So we want to see that on the plan, some data to support the new line.
Yep.
And then maybe we'll see how we can.
That's
either
quite a
reconfigure
difference.
or- It's dramatic.
And it's 136. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I move the matter to be tabled until we can reconcile the two wetlands delineations, figure that out, and determine if the plans need to be reconfigured.
Because what we're gonna have to do too is, we're gonna have to close out the original order.
Original.
So the original order, and you'll see the file number on there, and we can send you copies of all that.
Yep.
And I think maybe what the problem was, it was for 5 houses
Okay.
that ran along, and anything that was close to the wetland, they put under one order of conditions.
Yep.
So one person had come in, I'm assuming a bank, probably during financing, forced somebody to come in and get a partial release for their one house.
Yep.
So by no means are we asking for a certificate of compliance for all of the houses.
Yep.
But we want to deal with at least getting this one released from that order. Because somewhere along the line, somebody wants to refinance or sell or do whatever, it'll pop up.
Yeah.
So before we'll be able to approve this one, we'll have to deal with that.
Clear that up.
outstanding order as well.
Yep, clear that up first.
But I think that additional information will help the commission.
Okay, Chris has a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Aye?
Aye.
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 Thanks.
Thank you.
Next is a request for determination of accessibility, -195, owner applicant, City of Fall River, property location Wilson Road, assessors map W-11-0100, filed by GCG Associate Inc. On behalf of the applicant is proposing reclamation of regrading side slopes, paving of existing Wilson Road, starting at Riggenbach Road, heading east toward the beginning of causeway across from Matuppa Pond, stopping prior to the start of actual causeway. Work also includes rehabilitation of the existing swales, shoulders, as well as loom seeding of disturbed areas within the road layout, and any necessary work as specified in the contract. I guess they didn't file a legal notice, so.
The applicant, what happens is they submitted the day of the deadline. When they called the Herald News because of the holiday, it would not have been posted in time. So we'll get tabled till next month and we'll deal with that one.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, roll call?
Aye?
Aye.
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 All right. Next, if we can have a motion to put on file a correspondence to Chapter 91 waterway license application from New England Power.
Motion to place on file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye,
Okay.
sorry.
We did have a resignation from Paulo Amaral. We wish him the best. His time here was well served.
I would like to note that, and Paulo was great on here. He was always anxious to learn, did his research. He didn't resign because he didn't want to be on the Conservation Commission
Yeah.
anymore. He was,
Yeah.
the mayor was trying to appoint him to the Zoning Board of Appeals, which was the board he initially wanted to serve on, but there was never room for it. In order for him to be appointed and appear before the council, he had to resign from the commission. Otherwise, he would still be here. When he went to the city council, things didn't go as well as we had hoped. So we've lost a good advocate for
Yeah.
serving on any board in the
Of
city.
course, absolutely.
So he will be sadly missed,
Mhm.
Yeah.
for sure.
Agreed.
Let's see, next, approval of minutes from July 1st, 2024 meeting.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Public
Any
input?
public input? Zero. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Very good.